Thing in progress.
Hello, and welcome to Let the Story Write Itself podcast, episode 21. Today, I am continuing with the plot, the storyline that I left off on in the previous episode 20, where I finally talk about how I got to Barcelona after being in Toronto for a month following a 4-day train ride from Vancouver. So it was this whole journey kind of unfolding one step at a time without any planning, really, just like an open ended ticket and following my intuition. I really was almost playing a game of Marco Polo where it was just a feeling of, is this warmer? Is this cooler? And allowing my feeling to guide me in that way, like really making decisions from my like a bodily wisdom, like an intuitive wisdom, rather than an analytical or logical approach. So I wasn't like in my head, like, where should I go next? Maybe I'll do this and la la la. I was really tuning into my body and just being like, which feels warmer, which feels cooler. So it was really a game of Marco Polo. And that's exactly how I was described it at the time back in 2016, which is when this all happened. So it's like March 2016 now, and I'm in Barcelona, Spain, and there's this is where like who you are, no matter where you are. Like when people say, no matter where you are, there you are, because you're gonna be who you are, no matter where you are. And the thing is that like before I ever went like on this journey around the world, in my hometown and even just like my childhood upbringing and the things that I naturally gravitated to, like period of time after following university and then going on this round the world trip adventure was really me like going on to Vipassana, riding my bicycle more out, just like in my hometown even. I've always, enjoyed having raspberries from the garden and going for walks in the rain, even. Like, literally, I always love like the feeling just after a rainfall. And, I've always been very, very grounded in like more spiritual matters, if that makes sense, more so than like searching for a career. Like, that's why I've always like job hopped and like never really felt like I had a calling to a particular occupation. I mean, obviously you want to make a livelihood. But I guess I was always very, very connected to my soul. And if something didn't feel right, it's just I would feel that immensely. Like it's something that I couldn't just ignore or suppress. And that's like a very, very strong trait in me where I have a very strong inability to pretend that I'm not feeling something. So if I'm feeling something, it's like all out there. And like I wear my heart on my sleeve. So, you know, as I as I share, like, I'm in Barcelona, I'm already feeling like I'm not just about sightseeing. These are not the things that naturally interest me anyway. Like, I like something more like connection and community, more like heart-centered. Like, I'm a very heart-centered person. I'm very led by something like a bigger calling or something. And like, even when I was just in my hometown, I was always seeking out like Reiki and energy therapy and like flower essences. So things that have more to do with like the subtle, more nuanced aspects of life. I'm also a life path 9 in numerology, which, my interests tend to be quite esoteric. Like, while people might be more focused on like things that I just simply could not really care much about. Like, I it's why I never really prioritized as much like a career or going for like a specific status or the way something looked, because for me it was all about like, how does this feel? So I always had like a very much like an inner outer approach, like how does this make me feel, which is why university never sat right with me, because my orientation has always been like from that inner feeling of like not just an outer like, okay, it looks like this. It's more like, but how do I feel about this? And as I mentioned, it's very hard for me to pretend that I don't feel something. So essentially I'm in Barcelona and like who I am is obviously going to show up no matter where I am. So I'm like, yeah, I'm like telling this walking tour guide who's asking me like, hey, is everything all right? You don't look that happy, as I'm kind of just like trotting along on this like walking tour around in Barcelona, right? Like, okay, like, yeah, of course I'm seeing like the architecture and like Gaudi architecture and the, like the cathedrals and all these places of interest. And of course, like I enjoy that aspect, but there's like a deeper longing within me that has more of a spiritual, like fulfillment, and it has like that, it's like that je ne sais quoi, right? It's like that piece that you can't quite put your finger on. It's that intangible quality. It's like, okay, on the surface, like I'm abroad, I'm traveling. And mind you, also, how I got here was not of my own accord. I kind of just found myself here in Barcelona, Spain, right? If you've been following the journey. So it's not even like I planned a trip here per se. I kind of just literally feel like I just happened to be here. And it was like felt magical because as mentioned, it's like I'm letting my intuition guide me, right? But and like that's what I'm still doing. I'm like, well, I feel like I want something with more purpose, and I just feel like I'm not really into sightseeing. And the walking tour guide, she was like, "Oh, well, have you heard of Workaway? I'm very like you might enjoy that." So fast forward, I find myself then taking a train to Malaga, and listen to episode 20 if you want to hear more about the specifics of what I did that led me to connect with this place in Malaga and how I chose that specifically, also very intuitively. And and then I arrive and like it's like a beach, it's like right by the beach, Andalusia. It's different than like the bigger cities, right? It's by the coast and it's the south of Spain, and it's like more relaxed, and it's just a different atmosphere altogether. I'm like something about it, like the large beach walk area, and like it's like not just concrete, it's almost like marble flooring. I was like, what is this place? It's like a fairy tale. And then it would be like in the heart of the city area was like this fortress, like a castle almost, and like all these pink flowers in bloom. And I was like, this is literally like feels like I'm in a fairy tale storybook right now. And during the day I would just take a walk, maybe like half an hour to get to the fortress castle in the middle of the area. And this is also where, you have like the shopping center, and the shopping center is almost like an outdoor like marble ground, and it's like more like boutique shops. It's not even, it doesn't feel like a mall per se. And it's like flower, like just it's just so interesting. It's like an indoor outdoor, and you like stroll around, and there's you can get gelato here and there, and it's right by the coast. And it's just, I probably have some pictures I could share, but I was in Malaga for 2 months, and I probably could stay for 3 months, really. But it just felt like I was just living here. So this is like how I was just living. It was like not even just a vacation. I was literally just going about as if like a slow travel such type of situation. I wasn't just looking for sights to see, which is very different than say joining on like a tour guide. And or like going to like all the tourist attractions per se, because it's like I would just find interest in every little thing, like no matter where you are. It's like I would just find interest in wherever I happen to be, because I think it's not even about going to certain places or specific places. It's about noticing what's already where you are, because every place has something of interest. That's the thing with travel, is that you don't have to go to specific places to find something interesting. It's like anywhere I feel like there's something interesting there, right? So here I am in Malaga, and I feel like intuition always calls you to where your soul is going to, some aspect of it that is in resonance, or something that will lead to something else. So interestingly enough, I was here on like a workway, which is like this volunteer website that connects like hosts around the world with projects for, quote unquote travelers, people who happen to be in the country at the time. And I connected with this. They were like a French couple who actually uh, were running this hostel in Malaga, and they had decided to move from France to Spain and live their dream, so to speak. That they wanted to live by Spain, they wanted to be by the beach, they wanted to, I guess, own their own place. And so they were like doing their own dream, right? And then here I was also connecting with them. And then, it's interesting because they had this nighttime receptionist who was from Morocco. And so sometimes I would chat with him, and he was like, and that's how I got to, I'm like, oh, you know what? Actually, in fact, Morocco is literally just a ferry ride away. It's like a different continent, Africa, but it's like only a 2-hour ferry ride. So that was almost the irony of it, where it's like so close, like the proximity, like geographically so close, yet it's like a totally different continent. And of course, Morocco is like more the tip of Africa, so it's kind of has more like Middle Eastern vibes and also has some Spanish influence. It's not like the heart of Africa, obviously, but it's still like just that whole feeling of like an exotic adventure. Oh my gosh, taking a ferry to Africa. Like I've also that like the first time I'd ever been to Africa at that point, right? And I was just like, it just felt very. I was like romanticizing it in my head. I'm like, oh my goodness, what an exotic adventure right now. I'm going to take the ferry from Spain to Africa or like from Europe to Africa, from Spain to Tarifa to Tangier, really. And so, after 2 months, that's really where I decided to go. It just happened to unfold very naturally. And when I went there, I also didn't have a plan at all. Like I didn't have a plan onwards. I didn't really have a plan for how long I would stay, for whereabouts I would go in Morocco. I was just like, I'm just gonna take the ferry to Tangier and see what happens, right? Because that's just my whole thing. It's like I can't really think that far in advance. I also feel like because I have such a lack of preference, I tend to need to be like shown like maybe it has to do with my human design. I'm a manifesting generator, which is more like a response, it has more of a response orientation. So it's like I am able to like connect with like that gut instinct, like, okay, yes, this is it, rather than almost like being like, okay, I want to go here now and planning that. It's like I'm presented with scenarios or ideas, and then I'm like, oh, yes, I'm going to choose that one. And so a lot of times, this is how the path unfolds for me. It's just that choosing from whatever shows up. And the path that lights up is almost like that intuition. It's like you you every time you take a step in one direction, the path then continues to light up. So it's like you don't have to have the whole path figured out because anytime you are in a new place, then you are presented with different options. And a lot of times I find, in a way, I feel like the story is already written and like just allowing the story to write itself because it's like, why in the world was I pulled Toronto? And then from Toronto, I went to Spain. And then from Spain to Morocco, it just felt like this little hoppy hop like between countries that just kind of so seamlessly worked out. It's like the train across Canada from Vancouver to Toronto. It's like, how seamless is that, right? It's literally like a train ride. And then from Toronto to Barcelona is like a very common route. And then from Barcelona, I take the train down to Andalusia. And like what connected was like that workway piece of information. And then what connected me to Tarifa or to Tangier in Morocco was that piece of information from the nighttime receptionist there, who happens to be from Morocco, which then kind of put Morocco on my radar. Like I wasn't even thinking like where am I going to go next per se, let alone Morocco. Yes, it is geographically right there, but there's also Portugal, there's also like, you know, Ibiza, there's also like other places in Spain. Heck, like it could go anywhere. So to me, it's like the fact that I went to Morocco of all places is almost like one thing led to another, like one piece of the puzzle led to another, like, and it kind of just all unfolded. Like, and then even when I was in Morocco, the way I'll talk about that in the next episode or so, about how that journey, I was in Morocco for a month at that point as well. So, this like a slow travel, long-term travel, a travel of just a journey of exploration and like spiritual unfolding because as you can see it was like an inner outer thing. It's like I wasn't forcing anything, I was just going with the flow truly and allowing my intuition to guide. And because the things I was naturally interested in was more like an intrinsic quality, it wasn't about just extrinsic, like I want to see this, I want to go here, I want to go there, I want to do this and that, and this is what I think I want to eat. I'm not saying that people do that for any particular reason, but for me, that's never been my motivation to just see places. I've always wanted to have like some reason or like a more fulfilling quality, a spiritual resonance. As a life path 9, that's very much my orientation to the world. It has a very much like a spiritual quality to it. So I always seek something like a higher truth or something, a higher connection. And so I love the fact that each step of the way there, it felt like I was just being called. And then when I got there, it felt like there was just a place for me. I'm like, oh, well, somehow I just felt like I was meant to be here. Like it just all kind of worked out seamlessly and without my even planning. Like the fact that this French couple was looking for like some reception help during the daytime. And and then I just happened to be in Barcelona at the time that they had posted this thing on the workway. And the next day that I contacted them, they were like, when can you be here? And I'm like, I can take the train tomorrow. And it was like just so like quick and easy. And it just kind of, it's like everything just was in the right place at the right time. And, you know, this work away thing, it's not the same like if you just went to a resort or you stayed in a hotel or you just went and took a vacation and you just wanted to relax by the beach all day, you know. For me, what really that was not of interest to me because it wasn't just about a vacation. It wasn't just about, you know, getting away from real life, so to speak, or whatever reason you would do, go to like a resort or something or stay by the beach. It was more about that a sense of interconnection or just a sense of being in the right place at the right time or being of service somehow or having a higher calling or even just being led by my heart and that intuitive call. Like, I don't know what this is all about. I don't know what, but I want to be part of the bigger picture. And I believe there's a bigger picture. And it's that surrender and that trust and that faith that it makes me feel very gifted. Like I'm being gifted this experience because it doesn't feel like I'm making it happen of my own accord. It's almost like I'm being supported by God to follow this journey. And like in essence, it's like yes, even though I was paying for airfare and I was paying for meal, like, you know, I was doing like there's certain expenses, right? It didn't feel like it was coming out of my own pocket in some way because I was being led there. It almost felt like it had this strange quality of like a sense of joy. Like I felt very buoyant, very light energy. I felt very like, I don't know why, I just felt very like a very different. It wasn't just like it wasn't the same feeling as like if you're just shelling out money to take a holiday. It felt like I was giving, not giving, but like I was in the flow of things. And this I think has a very big money principle because when you're expending in a spirit of joy and even like non attachment, like you're not attached to anything and you're almost doing it from a place of like a higher purpose, like if like it almost felt like it was being gifted in a way because and you know that's when I had returned from this round the world trip I actually like doubled the amount that I had spent on this trip from some investments that I was then called to make. So it's interesting how that works out, that when you're doing something that is in support of what you're called to, and there's this feeling of alignment and this feeling that God is calling you there, and a feeling like that's the thing. It's like I felt like I was being gifted in some way because I didn't feel like I was efforting it, like I wasn't making it happen, like I was being called to go to these places and I was just showing up. So it felt like it was almost paved for me, like it was just like not like a tour guide but almost like a spiritual like guide, and I'm like just showing up. And so there's something like an immense quality of just like this art of like surrender, of like being a child of God, of like not making things happen, of just simply being supported by the universe. It's like this deep flow state where you know that where you just are like you're just in a state of being, like you're not doing anything in particular. Do you get what I mean? Like I wasn't doing anything, I was just simply being, and I had the freedom to do that. That's a big essential piece because I was almost like just being carried, like you're being carried by the universe, and it's just kind of taking you here and there, and like you're on the ride, you're just on a ride, and that's how I would describe it, which is what made this journey so magical. From that 4 day train ride across from Vancouver to Toronto, and then from Toronto in that month in Toronto, and then from there to Barcelona, and then from there to Malaga. This whole journey has been one of just almost feeling like I was just showing up at the right time at the right place and saying yes to the idea that was already presented to me, almost like this inner guide, like this presence within that was being like, okay, go here now, go in here now, like this inner voice that kind of already planned the trip for me. So it was almost like this co-creation. And that's the aspect that I want to highlight. That what made this particular trip so almost like unknown and uncertain, and like the first time I'd ever really allowed myself to do that or to experience that magic was the time when I listened to that voice within and I didn't know what it meant and it didn't make sense, but I just went with it. And every step of the way, it's like I didn't necessarily know the next step, but I just allowed myself to trust that it was where I was meant to be, and it felt right. And then as I was just in that place of being and living every time a part of the story would unfold. And it's like I was always given like that's the thing. It's like I talk about before about like being a womb in your being in your mother's womb and like just being having all of your needs taken care of. And then why is it that once you're out of your mother's womb that suddenly you feel like you're disconnected in some way that you have to suddenly do things or at what point in your life do you start doing that? But then it's like that reconnection with that being a child of God. And I don't necessarily mean this in like the religious way, like I've never really attended church or anything, but it's this idea of almost just being all your needs provided to you or like almost like an umbilical cord with the universe where you're still connected to you know a higher entity where all you're just simply like a baby like you're simply like existing in the womb you know outside of the mother's womb you're still connected to a higher power, and if you just allow yourself to be pulled by that, there's some magic in that quality of not needing to know or do things for yourself. And it's this place of surrender where you just almost you release all tension. It's like this is that what I mean by that flow state, that surrender and that ease. Literally, it's ease because you're not efforting anything. You're just allowing. It's such like a fine balance. You're not doing anything. You're just being gifted these experiences by the universe. And so when I was in Barcelona and I was thinking, well, I mean, I wasn't even thinking, I was just feeling, I was just like, oh, this is not quite right. Something about this is a bit off. I mean, yeah, I definitely felt the pull to Barcelona, but there's something now guiding me. So it's that Marco Polo intuition. It's like this feels a bit cool for some reason. I something warmer here, something warmer, and then I was focused on like what feels warmer. And warmer, I mean like that feeling of gratitude, of appreciation, of joy. It's like that warmth in your heart, that feeling of I'm so excited right now. I can't even explain it. It's like I feel so in love with life. And it's like being happy for no reason, right? So it's like that feeling I had become so attuned to and accustomed in within myself through whether it was like just going on Vipassana experiences, going on bicycle rides in my hometown, just experiencing like these awe-inspiring moments of magic just in here and there in everyday life, that I started almost just like craving that more and more. So no matter where I am in the world, now I'm in Spain, right? I'm like, still that feeling is a feeling that I hold close to. And I'm like, what feels warmer? Because right now, if it's starting to feel cooler, it feels like I'm straying away, like I'm more distant from my true self. And that's how I realign with my inner guidance and inner self. It's that feeling of being on point. It feels like warm. It feels exciting. It feels like joy. It feels you know, like a hug. It feels like a gift. And these are all the sensations that I was like, I need to feel this again. And it's like, and then that's when lo and behold, this workaway kind of came to my awareness. And then I was like, immediately knew what felt right. I'm like, oh, that's the one. Just like from that picture that I saw, I'm like, something about this is calling me. I don't even need to know the details. It's just like, that's the one. Just that photo, something. It's like, you're just your inner being, like that intuition connects on a soul level that you don't even need to know like the details on the physical world, because you're like, oh, that's the one. And that's what led me particularly to this particular hostel right by the beach with this French couple who, I was in French immersion as a kid. So I do have some kind of like connection to French, and I was able to like speak French with them because they didn't really speak English. So that was so interesting that like I'm in Spain, here I am practicing my French with this French couple who running this hostel, and I'm there like kind of helping them out in the reception area for some hours during the daytime in exchange for like some lodging and meals. And it felt like it was like hitting this fulfillment point of like connection and community, and not just like being a tourist or like sightseeing, but also like giving back in a way, or contributing, and not just everything being like a transaction, but also there's just like an exchange. It's a difference of energy. It's like well, like a barter system, but like instead of just like paying money, it's like you're from your own physical like creative energy, your ability to like use your own talents and capabilities and your own inner resources to to share in whatever moment. I think that's the fulfilling part, because then you're drawing on stuff within you, and it's fulfilling for both parties essentially. And not only that, but like somehow, this particular town, Malaga, it was just like almost like this fairy tale town. Like I literally felt like I was in a fairy tale. It's like this coastal town by the ocean, and it's warm but not too warm. It's not really crowded yet. It's still March, and it has like this boardwalk right by the coast, and it's just so clean and open and bright, and I just love it. And it's like not crowded at all, and it's like just like it just like has like palm trees, but also has like marble. It feels like palatial, but it also feels like connected to nature. It feels very like non-pretentious, but it's also, has like really boutique cafes and like luxury shops. So it's just like this mix, like this eclectic mix of so many things that I'm like, is this like a dream place that I didn't even know existed? Like, how did I even end up here? Like, I never even heard of this place. I wouldn't even have like researched or thought to come here ever. But this is like intuition. It just guides you to the places that already resonate with your soul and that already resonates with all the things that you have ever been. The fact that I was in French immersion for like, the first 5 years of my schooling, and have always had that bit of resonance with French culture, I guess, and the language. And here I am, like, with this French couple in Spain practicing French, which also, I guess, is something that, I was just saying that when I was in Barcelona, I was like thinking of enrolling in like Spanish lessons. But, I never really had that interest to learn Spanish. But here I was just suddenly fell in my lap like this workaway exchange and this almost like a community exchange. Like you get to contribute and you also get to feel like you're part of community. So it felt nice to have this like home base. So like that's why I stayed there for 2 months, because I would have some structure to the day where it's like I could have that bit of a grounding where I felt like I was had a bit of a family. I could like go home, quote unquote, and like just have like what quote unquote chores to do, like just help out at the desk and do these errands and tasks at the desk during the day, reception and whatnot, while and then I could balance that with like just going off and getting to do what I want during other days or times when I wasn't needed to be there. And then it was like every time I was back and forth, it was just like I always had like almost like a core, like not like a almost like a homestay, except it was like a hostel. So it's like I was kind of greeting other people who were like coming in and out. So it's an interesting mix. So like I'm a traveler myself, but I'm also acting as like uh someone who's like just at the like staying there as if I'm not like a foreigner, but I'm like just local or something. So it was an interesting mix, and I just love that whole thing. And it was like had a bit of like it wasn't like a super busy hostel, especially not in March, but they would always have like they had like this outdoor patio area that was like facing the beach, and a bit of a bar where you could get like smoothies in the morning, and they would like play like upbeat music, like the kind of music that I love. It's like, like house type music, and it's just like music that like elevates your spirit and makes you dream and wonder, and is very light. And it's just all these different aspects that it just kind of like really kept my energy high, right? So it's that difference between when you're in like when you're feeling that feeling like you're getting cooler or warmer. When you're warmer to something, your spirit will always feel like this lifting up, like you're being enlightened and swayed, like you're feeling more expansive and joyous and excited for some reason. And that's exactly how I felt at this hostel. And I stayed for like 2 months, as mentioned. I could even have stayed for longer, 3 months, I was really thinking. But after that, I went to Morocco. That's for a different episode, though. But what was I saying? Yeah, so it was this really core desire to like connect and to be part of a community and have that exchange. And so it felt like, oh my gosh, I just connected with that part of me. This is what I was seeking. This is like the thing that I couldn't quite articulate, but it's like the journey just called me forward. And it's like I didn't plan it. I didn't necessarily even articulate it, but I was like sitting in that life coaching college program in Vancouver that I had the call, go to Toronto. And I was like, what do you mean go to Toronto? But I had been feeling a bit disconnected from just living in Vancouver and, going through everyday activities and like having some employment and going on this like private college education. And then I was just like 1 month in and I was not feeling it. And I was like, I gotta listen to this intuitive call now because I didn't do that at 17. I'm certainly not going to make that same mistake again. And that's why I allowed myself to take that call now in my mid-20s and went on that 4-day train ride across the country. And then here I am, lo and behold, in freaking Malaga, of all places, at this hostel for like by the beach with this French couple, practicing my French and like in this fairy tale town that I never even heard about, and just kind of living my life and being and just experiencing. And it's just like everything just kind of converged together that it's just like feels so expansive and uplifting to my spirit that I didn't even know the particulars of. Like I didn't even make a like a I want this and this and that. It's like my spirit just led me there just through that intuitive knowing, like that inner resonance, that feeling within, and that connection to your inner joy and your inner peace, and that intuitive knowing of what feels right and what doesn't feel right, and like constantly adjusting to keep on that alignment. And this is what really I love about the trap, about just life. It's just that core fulfillment and that feeling within that is the primary driving factor. It's that, are you feeling in that game of Marco Polo, are you warmer or closer? Are you warmer or cooler from the from what your soul from your soul, like the soul characteristics will determine what feels warmer and cooler to you. And yeah, so that is episode 21 of Let the Story Write Itself.